TheRacingBiz.com and the Maryland Horse Breeders Association present our annual. Is this annual, John? Do we do
Somewhat
this every
annual.
year?
I mean,
Annual-ish?
annual-ish, we'll call it.
All right,
Like,
all right.
you can make it annual if you want.
Handicapping forum for Maryland Million 2023 coming up Saturday, October 14th. 12 races on the card, topped by the Maryland Million Classic. For older runners going 1 1/8 miles on the main track. I'm Frank Vespi, joined here by Mackenzie Pfeiffer. Mackenzie was part of our broadcast team at Timonium, a horsewoman and handicapper. And Mackenzie, when we had you at Timonium, we sent you up in the Ferris wheel. No Ferris wheel here, but thanks for joining us.
I'm terribly sorry to disappoint. I know this is not quite the same scenery.
No, not for you either. So, but we appreciate your being here. John Piazzik with the Maryland Horse Breeders Association also handicaps Maryland on the RacingBiz.com every day of live racing. John, welcome. It's your time, man.
Yes, this and Fitness Week are the most pressure-packed times of the year because you got all the out-of-town bettors flocking in and betting. And, I've been following these horses all year long, so I have to look good because I should know what I'm talking about. Hopefully I do, and we pick a few winners.
Yeah, pressure's on. Let's see what we can do. Gary Quill used to handicap Maryland for the Racing Biz as the GQ approached. Now he's moved out of state, but we won't tell anybody about that. But he's still got lots of Maryland garb. Gary, welcome.
Thanks, Frank, as usual, for letting me be part of this handicapping session. And it's Maryland Day at the races, and it's always great to see the crowd at the track and the celebration of horse racing in Maryland.
Celebration of horse racing in Maryland. Let's talk just quickly about the conditions of these races. These races are for Maryland sired horses. That means that in a number of races you see also eligibles and you wonder, gee, there's only, for example, in the Classic, 8 horses in this race. Why do they need also eligibles? Those also eligibles are Maryland-bred but not Maryland-sired. They will only draw in if the number of Maryland-sired horses in the race drops below 8, and then they can only draw in one by one to get it back up to a field size of 8. Right, John? Is that right?
Mm-hmm. That's correct. That's how it goes.
All right, that's how it goes. That's the man that has ready access to the press guide for Maryland Million. So we
had a little query off camera, and I went straight on a Maryland-Million.com, where, of course, if you want to find any info you want about the Maryland Million, that's where to go. And I dug in, and we answered our question, and all was well for the next few seconds.
Yes, until we got confused again. He's sitting under the Maryland and New Jersey flags. Gary, you're waving Maryland garb around here. The Maryland-bred, the
Maryland horse, Maryland-bred. You'll see them all on Saturday.
Distaff going to be the 10th race on the card, 4 o'clock estimated post time. Fillies and Mares going 7/8 of a mile. This is, I would say, the best race on the card in terms of wide openness plus quality runners. This is a really good horse race here. And Mackenzie, let's start with you. Since it's a distaff, let's go ladies first here. And you're going to land on a horse coming off a really long layoff.
Okay, well, if you're leading me to say, yes, I'm not sure about the layoff, it's true. But if you look at the work tab, and I'll say it again, I think Hammy knows a thing or two about Maryland Million Day. And this was probably a target for them. Maybe they had a few races in mind. Things just didn't go as they planned. And so they've made do with what they have. The 2 Bullet Works, I think they have her ready. I'm not so sure we need to worry about the layoff. We're still going less than a mile. And so I think baseline fitness, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. I could be wrong, though. We'll see.
Everybody could always be wrong in horse racing. That's the big trick. That horse is the 2-horse Luna Belle. And John, you also, no, I'm sorry, Gary, you're on Luna Belle as well. we just talked about the layoff briefly with Mackenzie. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, exactly what Mackenzie said. Hammy knows how to bring the horse around, doesn't rush the horse, and based on the work tab, you would think that he's been pointing her here for her return. I mean, she was the next best thing since sliced bread in her 3-year-old campaign. Gave the grade 2 Black Eyed Susans a run. I had the pleasure of sitting with her owner, Deborah Green, and we interviewed her Black Eyed Susan's day. And it didn't turn out to be her day, but she's definitely a nice filly, much nicer than anything else I could find in here as far as class wise. And I have faith in Hammy that this is the right spot for her return.
And Hammy you trust, and actually John Piazzik also trusts in Hammy, but not this horse. John, you're leaving Luna Belle off your ticket altogether and going with the razor sharp response time.
Yes, I am excited to see Luna Belle come back, just because I am very excited to bet against her. I mean, she has not raced in, how many months is it? Like 16 or 17 months? It's been a really long
May
time.
of 2022.
No matter who you are, it's a really tall mountain to overcome. And quite frankly, even if she runs her best, I'm not sure if she can beat either her stablemate response time or Fille d'Esprit. I mean, it's two very tough mares, both of whom are 7 furlong specialists. I think Luna Belle might want a little bit more. So I am going with response time on top, as mentioned, also trained by Hammy Smith, a daughter of Country Life's most also bredder. I really like to win last out in the Maryland Distaff, a very professional race, sat just off the pace, kept Malibu Beauty, a very nice mare, at bay, earned a very big speed figure that day. In fact, the biggest figure, at least on the Brisnet scale, in months. She had been running in mid-90s pretty steadily over the winter on this lower track. And if there was such thing as a Maryland Million Distaff future book, you might have wanted to better, but she did kind of tail off toward the middle of the year. However, it looks like Hammy's got her back in great shape. I think she's peaking at the right time, and I think she'll be very tough and hopefully fall kind of be a little more obscure compared to Luna Belle and Fille d'Esprit.
Now, interesting thing in this race, you guys all land on the same horse in second. That's the 10 horse Fille d'Esprit. I talked with Jerry Robb, the trainer, on Tuesday, and he said this was very much what they were pointing for, and they got the one race in her. He thinks it's enough. She didn't have to work hard. She was a mile the best in that race. Curious as to Mackenzie, let me ask you. She's got sort of better, she's got more recent good form than Luna Belle. Why not Fille d'Esprit on top?
Well, of course she has more recent form that's better. The other horse has
Right, because Luna Belle has no recent form. I'm gonna send you back up the Ferris wheel if you're not nice to me.
No, honest and truly, this was my debate the whole time. And we talk about using Lasix and that angle, and so that sort of helps me there. Not to say that she hasn't run on Lasix, but the one race I had in my mind, I just couldn't really answer, why didn't they give her more of a campaign this year? They really were targeting and really aiming for just this one day. Okay, that makes perfect sense. She's a 7-year-old. She knows her job. They're so professional. And mares can be so tough. So to me, it almost doesn't matter who finishes on top in this race. I'm going to bet them all because it truly is just such an exciting race. Like you said, one of the best on the cards. The 15 for 27 lifetime and how many of those actually come out of Laurel? She's pretty professional there. So I really can't knock her too much. It really, I think, came down to, I wanted to see a younger mare come back. Both barns have been really tactical with how they've prepared these horses. And again, is this younger one going to step up into the class of older company, or how will that go? We're not quite sure, but she was super talented, and the one race in a light season, I couldn't make up my mind on Fille Free. So
Yeah, no, it is an interesting question. Jerry told me she kind of cut herself in the gate at the Fritchie, and then he decided to give her a little time, and then she got a little dinged up and this and that. And it was just sort of horse things, little, nothing serious, but a bunch of little things that kept delaying the return to action. And now she's finally here. So Gary and Mackenzie both going with Luna Belle on top, John going with response time, everybody using Fille d'Esprit underneath. John, you and Gary both have Marvelous in your mix in third place for Carlos Mencia.
Yeah, I kept looking at her, and I was looking at, in particular, her late closing kick. And even if, Fille d'Esprit or response time runs off the screen, I could absolutely see Marvelous running a huge race and kind of blowing up the try or maybe even the exacta. I mean, she has a stakes win on this track, or 2 stakes wins. Really won the Maryland Million Distaff started handicap here last year, then came from way out of it and pulled off the upset in the Canivo Stakes back in mid-March at 26-1. Has only won once since then, but has run a bunch of great races. Just missed in a very nice allowance race at Timonium last time out. The first and third place finishers both came back to win. I think she has a pretty potent punch and must be considered at least underneath.
All right. Gary, Mackenzie, John, any last thoughts here on the Maryland Million Distaff?
Yeah, on Marvelous, who would have thunk that there would be a key race coming out of Timonium with the winner of Marvelous's last race when she ran second, the third place finisher, and the winner came back to win their respective races. And I just want to put a plug in for John, Jerry, Rob as the potential Maryland trainer, if not nation's trainer of the decade. Wow. And it's mainly just because of Fille d'Esprit. I mean, 3 years ago, he claimed her for $10,000, yep. And she's turned into a $750,000 earner. So he knows what to do with horses, and he knows good horse flesh. So I think anybody who's getting in the game and looking for a trainer, you could do worse than giving Jerry Robb a call.
Yeah, and now that you've anointed him trainer of the decade in the nation, so he's been doing it a long time, dating all the way back to Little Bull John, running in the late 80s and early 90s and earning $2 million the hard way, and now a Maryland Thoroughbred Hall of Famer. How about that? All right, that's it. Maryland Million Distaff, race 10 on the card, 4 o'clock post time at Laurel Park.